Joanna Dyrdek, Group Product Manager at Ocado Technology.
Marcin Krzanicki, UX Designer at Ocado Technology. By the way, Iga and Michał had some problems with microphones. I think we had some problems with cable connecting our computer to the projector, so yeah, they full of surprises, to be honest. Glad to be here in Wrocław. Glad to see, full room of people. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
Exactly. We are especially happy to see the full audience because we do have a question for you. How many of you have actually been in a situation that your manager, your stakeholder, your user comes to you and says, we have a problem? Well, assuming you are a product manager
or UX designer,
the answer should be, it happens to me almost every day. But how many of you, when discussing what the real problem is about, learn that you don't get it, you still don't get it, and eventually your manager, your stakeholder, your user tells you, sort it out, just deal with it. Well, our story today will be based on a real-life example of building a product, Sherlock, a data catalog that our users actually love, despite a very high-level problem statement related to data discovery we have originally started working with.
And before that. So, to be honest, it's not a problem that only Ocado has. It's quite a common thing for many companies who are working with the data. So, once the Anaconda, one of the companies working on, let's say, the data market, did a research. They asked respondents about some things around how they are working with the data. And, around 66% of the people said that what they are doing on a daily basis is, data management tasks. And data management tasks are things around finding the data, understanding the data, cleaning the data, once again, finding the data, repeat, and so on, so on, so on. So, if you think about it from a little bit different perspective, then it's reversal of the Pareto rule. So you are spending like over 60% of the time to get a little bit more than 30% of the effect. So yeah, same here, by the way. When we start to talk with the people about this, probably the most powerful analogies we find was that we need to continuously work on our data culture because, our data are like library, a huge library. But this library not only contains data, but contains books with the data. But the books, all of them, have just white covers without any titles, without any descriptions, without nothing. So what you have to do is going through every single book, look inside, try to find something, try to understand if you can use it, etc. So, it can be a pain, where. So we defined the problem statement as this. We need to improve data discoverability. Yeah, cool, but in order to know how we can do this, firstly, we have to understand what does it mean.
Does it mean we have no data and therefore cannot discover it?
Okay, let me try to answer that. No, opposite. We have as much data that it will be the Netflix library. You will be able to stream movies for like 300 years, in a row without any stops.
Cool. Then maybe we don't know where it is.
No, not really. It's mostly in BigQuery or a little bit broader in Data Lake.
Maybe then people just don't know how to use it.
Majority of them do. The ones who don't, but wait, as you can see, we are playing like, this old game, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And to be really honest with you, my answers was more like assumptions than something based on real data / real information.
If, as a product manager, you catch yourself asking the maybe questions and going in circles and making assumptions, stop those immediately and ask. And we did that. We did ask internally to start. What you see on the screen right now is a mind map of a subject related to data. We called it a data tree that resulted from our internal conversations. Event ingestion, data storage, data lake, data feed, data object, derived data objects, and many, many, many more. Quite confusing. How to find potential problems with data and their use, how to choose the most important issues, because there's no chance to deal with everything at once. What we have also noticed is that we are mostly aware about the problems related to data production, but not necessarily to data consumption, the data discoverability. We realized we need to do one more thing.
Okay. So what we did, first of all, properly define our users. People who are working with data, as Asia mentioned, from both sides. So data producers and people we called data ops or middlemen, those who are looking after data, and data consumers. In our company, mostly analysts and scientists. What we did next, start to talk with them and try to learn what is the main problem or main problems there. Okay. Yeah, when Iga and Michał told you about bullshit, so if you have data, you think you have everything. Those are data we first had from what we did, and probably you see some connections and that there is a lot of things there, but yeah, it's still confusing. You cannot make decisions based on it. You cannot really answer the questions based on it. So, also when we will drill down in those sticky notes, you will find out that sometimes we felt like our users didn't know what they want. Or opposite, because some of them start to speak with feature language. So, let's give us this, or let's give us that, or do this, like, this old movie with old Italian lady trying to use Google Nest. Okay, Google, do it, Google. Also, some of the people, especially with strong voices in the organization, had such strong opinion that sometimes with Asia we thought that, okay, maybe really should do what they are saying we should do, and at least have quite a nice day after it, and let's do it, jump straight into the solution, because why not?
Well, we didn't give up. We learned that interviewing and listening to individual perspective was an excellent way to start and learn how complex this topic was. But we also learned that it will not lead us any further. We learned that we needed to find common needs, organize them, and prioritize them! Exclamation mark. Following the rule that beauty lies in simplicity, we issued a survey that was sent to the entire organization asking which of the predefined categories people believed should be sorted out first, second, and so on.
Okay, so once again, a lot of data, a lot of information. We start digging it, using then quite simple yet effective methods like color coding, tagging information, trying to find some trends in it, how many people talk about something, who they were, etc. Then clustering everything, also building some kind of landscape of data organization here in Ocado. you can see like 6 answers out of 24 people with some kind of role there. So, you know, building insights from all of the data, all of the pieces of information we found during the research. And then we also cluster it in the way of our users, for example, data scientists, to learn more about them and to find out what is the common issue for all of them there. And it was how to find and understand the data.
We have defined our North Star and stuck to it throughout the entire discovery. And to be completely honest with you, we keep coming back to it even now, especially when our stakeholders are coming to us with, you know, those great ideas to be then used to keep to leverage our product more and more. No.
Okay, so if I was to summarize the first phase of data discovery process, so it will be observe, reflect, act, do it again. Observe, reflect, act, do it again, again, and again, and again. So typical loop. Don't be afraid, as product manager, as UX designer, to change methods on your way. Don't be afraid to ask additional questions, especially if you find yourself inside of nowhere or in the woods.
Or you are pressured.
Yeah, or you are pressured. Try to go deeper and deeper until you are sure that you are really understand what users want, what users talk about, and this can happen only when you both, so you and your users,
Stakeholder.
And stakeholders,
Or manager.
Or managers, who else? So, you know, when all the people who are involved in some problem start to speak the same language and start to understand each other. Without it, sorry, do it again. So once again, observe, reflect, and act.
So now you are probably interested in knowing how much time it actually took us from knowing very little through learning so much, it almost became overwhelming, and to releasing an actual MVP. I'll give you all the information. So we started working in January 2021. Late February, we've decided to validate our assumption by a proof of concept built based on an open source solution available on the market. And by the way, it took the development team 2 weeks to do that. We continued the market research until June, leveraging multiple UX techniques like already mentioned interviews, surveys, demos with external vendors, daily study, or linking with existing feedback tooling like Google Analytics, Full Story, or Get Feedback, previously known as Usabila. Sherlock's MVP was actually released mid-October 2021. To be honest, I think in less than 2 weeks we are celebrating the first year anniversary. It's October 19th. Stay tuned on that. I will let you decide if that was long or short. But there is one thing on this timeline that I wanted to elaborate on. Daily study. Once we've limited down the external partners to the very last one, we linked our testing environment with their solution and asked our users, as we did in the past as well, to log in and play with the solution. The difference with this time was that we asked them to record themselves. We asked them to record their screen so that we can visualize what they were doing and their voice so that we could understand the intention, the reflections behind what they were doing. Of course, we created dedicated Slack channels for those people so they had support from the development team just in case they had any questions or there were any errors and so on. But the main point was that thanks to their study, they could do the research whenever they wanted without you interviewing them, without your involvement. The result? game changer from my perspective, time saver. Plus, when we received those videos with the most important findings, either the good ones or the bad ones, which were videos that were lasting like 1 to 3 minutes, not long, like you could always come back to those research. Really, really, really good method. I totally recommend it. All right, so if I was to summarize our decision process, and actually the visualization that you currently see is the visualization prepared by the development team. Each decision that we were making was documented. Was it easy in general? You know what? I will risk a statement that yes, it was. The time invested in the research paid off, firstly, in our confidence that data catalog is what our organization needs. Secondly, when defining the MVP, and even today, we continue to take inspiration from it when we think about the next big thing for Sherlock.
Okay, but it wasn't that. So it wasn't like, high five, go home, take a beer, sit down, and be happy. No, to be honest, not. Because we know that we have to measure what we've did. And by the way, never, ever, ever measure everything. Don't collect every single data because you can. Why? Because you end with, you remember this library full of books without covers or with white covers? Trust me, you won't find time to describe everything, to drill down every single data, every single thing you can measure. So what we did, we just used something from the market. It's Google Heart Framework. We use it as a backbone. We sit down, think what we can measure and what we should measure, to be honest, to narrow down everything. Why? Because we want to be sure that we have time and resources to use those data to change them into the insights on daily basis. And not to, sink into it like in a data lake thing, or maybe a data swamp thing, to be honest. Some examples. You see, we did our job. We gone through the framework. Some examples we are using still. Adoption, for us, adoption is a number of designated users who are using the Sherlock against, the whole population of the designated users, plus % of the streams in organization who are using Sherlock. So, for example, we can find some champions in the streams who are using Sherlock, and we can see that stream is not using it. By the way, Pavel, we are waving from here. User satisfaction happiness for us is UMUX scale. Quite nice and simple scale to find out how useful and how easy to use is your tool. We are gathering it thanks to Get Feedback. Previously, the tool was called Usabila, and task completion. So now we are calling it, if someone bought data. So we are treating our tool a little bit as a shop with the data. Till now, we are just asking the question, did you find what you were looking for? By the way, the new catchy phrase will be, is it me you're looking for? Now also we are using Get Feedback, but we are working on something better, more catchy for the users and more useful. To show you how the tool and insights looks like inside, for example, hey, it's not like everyone loves us. I don't know if this guy is still with us. But what we are proud of, really proud of, we are internal tool inside the company, and we managed to build strong feedback loop between us and our users. People even come to us to share their feedback. So yeah, some examples. this time better one. Chelsea, our data analyst, one of the really hard users around. Really, really, trust me. And Błażej. So probably we did quite a good job to brag a little bit now. Okay, so one more thing, the process we created. So maybe it will inspire you, maybe not, maybe you still not trust us, that's just, you know, two people from the Ocado talking something about internal tool. So maybe Teresa Torres will help here. So the best way to think about product discovery is to think about it in relation to product delivery. Why? It's not possible to build a product without doing both discovery and delivery. You know, you have to have these two parts, glue it together in the best possible way you can, and here it is. Okay, so the concept of continuous discovery, in our case, can be described like this, 4 stages. The first one, identify, categorize, and prioritize known issues. And then define your North Star. By the way, you can define the North Star. They are not checking it, trust me. Not only for the whole product, but also for feature. Especially if you are trying to deliver quite a big feature, like for example, data lineage in Sherlock. So what we did lately. Second thing, interview selected users, or for example, I shall love diary studies since we conduct them. Do market research. Even if you are not buying the tool at the end of market research, you can still learn a lot from different products, be inspired by them, and also, you know, learn thanks to the mistakes other people did. And you can do it without paying a cent. So it's quite a good thing. Experiment. And, you know, experiments can be mock-ups, you will test with the users, clickable POCs, your dev team will create, whatever can be useful and fits your case. And, you know, then keep repeating the process until you will reach the stage when you are quite happy and you can move on.
If I was to summarize, what are the key lessons learned from the almost a year lasting journey of building Sherlock? I would say, first of all, build relationships with the stakeholders, because if you don't, there will be nobody to fill in your survey. There will be nobody to talk to you on the interview. There will be nobody to voluntarily agree to record what they are doing on the diary study, and so on and so on. Marcin has previously mentioned that you should keep asking questions and keep engaging with your stakeholders and your users until you learn the common language. From a product management perspective, if I was to say what is the common language, it is the outcome language, rather than, for example, the feature language that is very common nowadays among our users. I would say do not underestimate the market research and relationships with external vendors. I think Marcin has mentioned a lot about that already, so no need to repeat. And do accept the unknowns, but make decisions based on the knowns. I know it may sound a little bit tricky, but let me help you out. Time box. So whenever you feel you are sinking in information and you think that you could go and go and go and go and go on with the research, just time box it. Give yourself a decent amount of time that you believe is the right amount of time to do a certain thing, learn something, make a decision based on it, and move on.
And last but not least, design and build with people, not for people. Building for people, it's, you know, quite easy. You're thinking, okay, I will build something for, let's say, Michał or Iga. I will go to the room, build something, deliver it. Hello, it's there. Yeah, great job. Cool. And in this in this case, people means not only your users, but also your stakeholders, your developers, whole team, all the people involved in the thing you want to build, in the problem you want to solve. It's really, really great thing to working with people, not just for them.
Because people are actually bringing you data that then becomes insights.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Are you open to questions?
Yep.
Do you have any questions, guys? I have a microphone for you.
I think we can invite also Iga and Michał, because maybe there are some questions to the previous
Fantastic
presentation.
idea. Iga, Michał, if you could join us.
Hey, thank you. So let me start with a question for Marcin and Asia. You mentioned that you were trying to introduce to the team metrics. My question is, how would you approach the process of like reiteration, revision actually of metrics? Because my assumption is that at the beginning of the product, you were focused on primary metrics that probably may be a bit different today after 1 year.
I can start answering because that's indeed truth. First of all, we started with adoption and retention, but then we continued to develop because tooling like Full Story needs some time to actually gather data. Like if you want to look at Full Story after one month of usage, it will probably not give you too much information on what to do next. Usabila, get feedback tool, is slightly different because if you really have good relationships with your users and make them engaged and make them feel confident and comfortable with sharing the feedback, they will just tell you what they want because Usabila gives you that opportunity. So you can look at that data even from day one, but to actually understand what metrics, what KPIs you wanna build based on those information, it takes much more time. So I would say that I've just mentioned that we launched Sherlock in October 2021. And I'm just thinking when we redesigned our KPIs, was it a month ago or was it like 2 months ago? Just to prove that we continue to learn so that even though our product is far farther than just an MVP because we continue to release features more or less every 2 months. Even last time we revisit our KPIs was 2 months ago. So we continue changing that and learning, and we are not completely not afraid of doing that because we do select what works for us at a given point of time. Is that answering your question? Would you like to add something?
Yeah, maybe some example. Quite simple, I think, or maybe not. So this, do you bought the data? Is it me you're looking for? Yeah, example. So first we thought like, yeah, it's quite simple because we'll see it in even web analytics. Someone click to some point of the interface. Wow, they bought data. But then quite quickly we learned that no, it's not like that because people coming with different needs to the interface. For some of them, query the data is the need, and then we can say that, yeah, they bought the data. But for some of them, finding the data producer is the need. Mm-hmm. And it's a completely different case and completely different need. And we don't know, and we didn't thought about it from the very beginning, and we didn't know, okay, how to say that someone checked it and bought the data. So it's things like this, It's still this loop with observe, reflect, act, and so on.
Oh. Where you are? Here you are.
A question about how you measure if the solution pays back, because someone make decision to start this internal product and spend money for that, and do you use any kind of measurement to measure this one?
Who wants to answer?
It's a tricky question because we do not take money for Sherlock, but we are introducing features that are, first of all, previously, when our users wanted to find something, if they only could, they were going straight to the big query, which of course generates costs because it's using Google's data, right? We want people to first understand that the data they are searching for is indeed what they need. So we want them to first go to Sherlock and get confidence that the data they are looking, that the data asset that they are looking for is exactly the one. So they query one instead of multiple ones. And indeed, we see the decrease in the query results. So that's one example. Second example can be related to one of the features that we are just going to release, which is also related to cost, but a different one. Very soon, we are going to release a function that we are still not sure how to call it, but let me call it comments in Sherlock. A knowledge sharing feature that allows our users to speak about data, but it was not like part of the official information, official description part of the data, but something that only the users know about this data. Within this feature, we'll also allow our users to ask a question to the data producer. Before we introduce that feature, users had to go to either a Slack channel or directly to the data producer and ask that question, like a support question. And very often, it turned out that the same question was asked multiple times. Not sure how many of you use Slack, but you know that finding something on Slack might be something. I know that there are some masters of using Slack, but generally speaking, for a newcomer in a company, finding something in Slack might be challenging. So now you have a tool, so instead of like asking this question, the same question all over again, you just go to one tool, ask this question once, you have the answer, done, ticked. So this is a different cost. This is a cost that the producer, the development team, would need to take to answer the same question multiple times. And we can measure that by, for example, comparing the amount of questions raised on certain Slack channels, for example, in Q1 of 2021, Q1 2022, and just do a comparison if there is a decrease in such questions. So it's another example.
One another with real money, not only time. One of the teams in Krakow office used Sherlock. We provide in Sherlock some kind of scoring of the data. So for example, if the data are without description, quite old, no one is using it, no one is like updating the data object, etc., the score is 0. They checked the trash, let's say, like this, from the data lake, remove a small part of it. What we learned, it's like around $10,000 per month for the company less for paying Google for the data. So, if we try to, and we are trying now to use another case to make this cleaning up a bigger process in the company. So, yeah, it can be quite good money at the end of the day. Maybe even you can buy a house in Krakow, for example. Nah, not such good, maybe.
Not nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in a year from now.